Alright everybody, I just wanted to make a video for those that are out to also get the notes. So today we're going to be doing solving systems using substitution method. First we're going to start by warming up some old skills. So to solve for p here, we need to isolate p or get p by itself. So we'd add 1 to both sides. That would give us 6 is equal to negative 3/2 p. At this point, I kind of like to multiply by 2 here, because if you multiply by 2, this divide by 2 will get canceled. So we multiply by 2 on both sides. Then multiply and divide get canceled, so we get 12 is equal to negative 3p. And then divide by negative 3 on both sides, you get p is equal to negative 4. All right, so for this next one, letter B, I would first combine the k's together, so 2k minus k gives us k, and then plus 10 is still there on the left side, and that's equal to k plus 7. From here, I'm subtracting, so you could subtract. I'm going to minus the k from both sides, and now we have 10 equals 7. Well, this is not a true statement. Whenever you finish with not a true statement, then you just say that there's no solution here. Next one up, so we have 2/3 m plus 1 equals m plus 1. So I'm going to subtract the 1 from both sides here. That's going to give us 2/3 m equals m. And then what I like to do is I like to subtract the 2/3 m to the other side. And then how does this work? Well, this is 0. On the right side, this is technically 1m. 1 can be converted to 3/3. 3 divided by 3 is still 1, so 3m minus 2/3 m. So now we can do this. 3 minus 2 tells us that 0 is equal to 1/3 m. And then here we just multiply both sides by 3 to get m is equal to 0. All right, for the next one, letter D, you first need to get rid of the parentheses by distributing. So that's going to give us 8y minus 1 minus 3y equals 4. 8y and negative 3y can get combined together. 8 minus 3 gives us 5y minus 1 is equal to 4. And then you add that 1 to the other side to get 5y is equal to 5. And then you can finish by dividing each side by 5 to get y is equal to 1. And last but not least, letter E. So letter E, you first need to get rid of the negative and the 8 by distributing. So 156 is equal to negative 6m minus 8m plus 16. Negative 6 and negative 8, when you combine those, are going to make negative 14m plus 16 is equal to 156. Subtract that 16 from both sides. 6 and 6 make 0. 5 minus 1 is 4, and there's a 1 left over. So 140 equals negative 14m. Divide each side by negative 14 to get negative 10 is equal to m. All right, so hopefully that reminded us of some of our algebra skills. Now, let's take these skills and apply them to a solving question. So right here, this thing right here is called a system of equations. All right, and it's a system where we have 2 variables and 2 equations. 1 equation, 2 equations. So 2 variables, 2 equations system, and we're trying to solve for x and solve for y. So in order to do this, what you need to take a look at is, well, we have this equation, and it's equal to y. We have this other equation that's also equal to y. So guess what? Well, if this is y, what we can do is we can take that equation and plug it in for that y, because it's telling us that y equals this, and y also equals 5x plus 7. So we can take this negative 7x plus 7 and plug it in for this y because they are the same thing. So we say negative 7x plus 7 is equal to 5x plus 7. And now we have one equation with one variable in it. So we go through this and we solve for that one variable. I'm going to add the 7x to the other side. That gives us 7 is equal to, what is that, 12x plus 7. I'm going to subtract the 7 from the right side to get 0 equals 12x. Divide both sides by 12 to get 0 is equal to x. So we now have that 0 is equal to x, and it still wants us to also find y. Well, in order to find y, what we can do is we can just plug this x back into either one of these equations, because now we know that x is 0. So let's take this equation, for instance. We say y is equal to 5 times 0 plus 7. So that tells us y is equal to 0 plus 7, which tells us y is equal to 7. So the solution for this system of equations is the point 0, 7, because x was 0 and y was 7. All right? So that is how you're going to solve a system of equations with two variables and two equations. Notice that if you would have plugged 0 into the other equation, y equals negative 7 times 0 plus 7, you would have gotten y is equal to 0 plus 7, which also gives us y equal to 7. So it would not have mattered which equation you plugged into. I just picked the second one just because. Okay. When you solve a system with this method algebraically, it's called substitution. Substitution. And this is just a special type of solving that we're looking at just for today. So example A says solve the system using substitution. Well, we know that y is equal to negative 8. So guess what? We're going to substitute in this negative 8 for the y in this equation because negative 8 is y. So when we can put it in for that y right there. So we say 7x plus 3 times negative 8 is equal to negative 17. So then we have 7x minus 24 is equal to negative 17. You add that 24 to the other side. That gives you 7x is equal to negative 17 plus 24. So you would add 3 to that plus 4 to that. So that's positive 7. So divide each by 7, and you get x is equal to 1. All right, which that's awesome. And we already know that y is equal to negative 8. So we can literally just say that 1 comma negative 8 is the solution. If you wanted to check to make sure that this is the correct answer, you need to plug this x and y into the other equation. So it's 7 times 1 plus 3 times negative 8 is equal to negative 17. So that would be 7 minus 24 is equal to negative 17. Is 7 minus 24 equal to negative 17? Let's think. If you take 24, you take away 4. That would give you 20 and 3. So yeah, this is good. Negative 17. All right. So 1 comma negative 8 is our solution there. Let's take a look at letter B. Letter B says solve the system using substitution. Well, great. We have two equations already both set equal to y, so we can actually take this equation and plug it in or substitute it in for that y right there. So we say negative 1/2 x minus 5 is equal to 3/2 x plus 3, which we've been solving equations just like this for like a couple days now. So hopefully you have a good idea of how to solve an equation like this. What I like to do is I'm going to add the 1/2 x to the other side. So that gives me negative 5 is equal to 4/2 x plus 3. I'm going to subtract that 3 to the other side to get negative 8 is equal to 4/2 x. 4 divided by 2 is actually just 2x. So we can say 2x is equal to negative 8. And then you finish by dividing each side by 2 to get negative 4 is equal to x. Well, that tells us what x is, which is awesome. So then we can take this x and plug it back in to figure out what y is. So we say y is equal to 3/2 times negative 4 plus 3. So how do we do this? We go negative 4 times 3/2. So we say y is equal to 4 times 3 is negative 12 divided by 2 plus 3. So then y is equal to negative 6 plus 3, which tells us y is equal to negative 3. So the solution that we got for this problem is -4, -3. The best way to check this solution is to plug this x and y into the first equation. You want to use the first equation because we used the second equation to solve for the y. So checking with the first equation is going to be more important than checking with the second equation. The second equation should work just fine, but we check with the first equation to make sure it's true. So -3 is y. We say -1/2 times -4 minus 5. So that gives us -3 is equal to -1/2 times -4 is +2 minus 5, which does give us -3. So that's our solution. Alrighty, example letter C. So we're still solving by substitution. We have a y equals, so y is equal to this equation. Well, we have a y in this equation, so what we're going to do is we're going to plug that y equals equation in for y. So what that looks like is 8x minus 8 times -5x plus 1 is equal to -8. So we literally just substituted this entire equation in for what used to be y right here. So we solve this, 8x, we distribute the -8, so that makes +40x minus 8 is equal to -8. We're going to add the 8 over. We can combine the 40x and 8x to make 48x is equal to 0. Divide each side by 48 to get x is equal to 0. Not checking our solution, now we need to get y. You have options. You could plug x into the second equation, or the option that I like even better is plugging x into the first equation. I picked the first equation because there's less work that you have to do because it's already set equal to y. So we say y is equal to -5 times 0 plus 1. -5 times 0 is 0, so y equals 0 plus 1, which tells us y is equal to 1. So our solution here is 0, 1. And then we're done. You can always check by plugging into the second equation, right? So I like to plug into the second equation here. Well, you should plug into the second equation because we used the first equation to solve for y. So that's 8 times 0 minus 8 times 1 is equal to -8. So that's 0 minus 8, which equals -8. So that's good. Okay, so the check is pretty quick, and it double checks to make sure you got the right answer. So I highly recommend doing that every single time you're doing one of these problems. Last example, example D, says solve the system using substitution. Again, we have an equation. It's already set equal to x. All right? We have an x in the first equation. So we're going to substitute this equation, which is equal to x, in for that x right here. So we say negative times -8y plus 1 minus 3y is equal to 4. Okay? So then we're solving this because this used to be x. And all we did was we took this x, this equation, and plugged it in for that x that used to be there. And then we distribute the negative first, so that gives us 8y minus 1 minus 3y is equal to 4. 8 minus 3y is 5y. We can add the 1 over, so 5y is equal to 5. Divide both sides by 5 and you get y is equal to 1. Once we find that y is equal to 1, I always recommend plugging it into the equation that's already solved for the other variable that we need. So we need x, so plug it into the equation that's already solved for x. Notice this equation is not solved for x, so it would be a little bit more work to solve for y, or to solve for x in that equation. So x is equal to -8 times 1 plus 1, so that's x is equal to -8 plus 1. So x is equal to -7. So our solution is -7, 1. All right? And then you can go back and check this solution on your own. I promise you that it works. Let me know if you have any questions. Just message me in Canvas. I hope you have a great day.